Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, a Spotlight podcast. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
All right, so summer is in full swing and calendars are starting to fill up. And today we welcome back a good friend of the show, the Executive Director of Lansing 501, to discuss their summer calendar. Welcome back, Mr. Chris Sell.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the invitation.
Well, you've been a friend of the show. And for those who haven't listened to our prior shows, give us a quick synopsis of Lansing 501's story. How did it begin and what was it intended to accomplish?
Absolutely. It was founded about 7 years ago now. We held our first meeting in fall of 2015. We're a nonprofit organization meant to kind of showcase the best of Lansing to Lansing's future. So we're all about trying to attract and retain young talent to the region. And we do that with the support and partnership of many of the region's largest employers. We also get a little bit of grant funding at the municipal and state level. And we use those funds to deploy all sorts of unique and dynamic programming and events and place-based marketing initiatives to really, again, kind of position Lansing as a great place to live and work.
Got it. Okay. So these are events.
Yeah.
Right, where you try to assemble young talent? I know it used to be, and I know we've actually talked about this a little bit. But,
absolutely. Young's a nebulous term, right? So we've used the term emerging professionals, young talent. Essentially, when we think about it, if we had to put an age bracket around it, it's folks, ages 18 to 40. But again, if you consider yourself young and you're 55 years old, then you are our target audience.
Right.
And so we're all about just trying to help folks understand why Lansing's a great place to live and work. And it's a destination community, whether they are a college student thinking about where they want to go post-graduation, or maybe they grew up here and have roots in the area, or they went to Michigan State or Davenport LCC and they're thinking about coming back, or maybe they've never stepped foot in our community before, but one of our amazing employers is trying to recruit them for a mid-level or executive position in the area, and we want to make sure they understand what Lansing has to offer.
Got it.
So we do that, of course, through events. We also have done some really dynamic marketing initiatives that kind of promote the place of Lansing, whether it's some really cool photo-driven books for a coffee table, or whether it's a brand new website, Lansing501.com, that we kind of consider the front door to our region.
Got it. And so the idea is really to create community, right? And make sure that people understand that there is a tribe out there just waiting to be found, right?
You bet. Yeah, we want folks to understand that there's other young folks like them that are in the community. It's a vibrant place. And if they make friends, if they have a great work experience, which we know many of them do because our employers are great, that's going to help make that sense of connection stronger. And then they're going to be much more likely to want to stick around and stay in the region after their work experience or their collegiate experience.
And it seems like colleges do a pretty good job with that with freshmen, right? You got to keep them active. You can have 100 people sitting in their dorms saying, I don't know what to do, I'm bored, or there's nothing to do around here, or I don't know anyone, so what do I go do? Walk into a crowded room? And the answer is yes, you create that crowded room.
That's right.
To bring people in, right?
Universities for decades now have been doing a much more intentional job of helping foster community and help connect students to the place and to other people, because they understand that's the best ingredient for long-term success and persistence to graduation. So likewise, we're trying to build that community in the region for folks that are continuing on that spectrum for age.
Right on. Now, Grand River Connection is has always been a separate organization. Talk about their mission independent, and then talk about how the two organizations, Lansing 501 and Grand River Connection, joined together.
Yeah, it's a great question, Chris. So when we got our start, we were doing programming primarily for college interns in the region. But of course, since then, we've scaled dramatically. So we cover the full spectrum of young professionals. And it was a number of years ago where the folks at Grand River Connection, that, as you mentioned, have been around for 10, 15 years, a volunteer-driven group of young professionals that wanted to create community for young pros in Lansing and East Lansing. Really simple formula, right? Fourth Tuesday of every month out of the year, we're going to pick a different bar, restaurant, or venue. Folks for free can connect, make connections. It's great. Well, they came to us a while back, and we understood that there was like a lot of overlap in our missions. Right. And just probably made too much sense, right, for us to combine forces. And so about a year and a half ago, we finally kind of cemented that partnership. And so now we offer Lansing 501 offers Grand River Connection as an event series, presented by Lansing 501, and it's a great addition and complementary to what we're already doing. So we have our summer event series, which is typically the large, unique, dynamic events that we'll probably talk about in a minute. And then we have our Capital Comeback event series, which takes place every fall. and that's around the Thanksgiving holiday traditionally, and it welcomes back in a very intentional way expats or folks that maybe grew up in the area back home for the holiday.
Right.
And we want to make sure they understand, look, this is a great place to live, work. It's different than what it was when you were here maybe 10, 15 years ago or 5 years ago. And so we want you to think about reconnecting with our employers and maybe move back to the area. So we had those 2 event series already that were very unique, distinct. Yep. And now the Grand River Connection event series allows us to offer programming year-round on a monthly basis, very consistently, and it's a great way for us to help build that community. And we just hosted a GRC event last night at Jackson Field, home of the Lansing Lugnuts.
Okay,
carrying on a long annual tradition for GRC, hosting an event at Lugnuts every year, and it's so neat to see. I saw faces last night that I've seen every month for 5 straight months that have been coming to our in-person GRC programming. So clearly they're feeling a sense of camaraderie and community, and it's a wonderful add-on to what we are doing, because our summer events often left our employers and our audience feeling like, gosh, what's next, right? I want to continue with this tribe, but we weren't always doing things every month throughout the year, and so now we are.
That's great. Okay. So GRC, like you said, is a monthly scheduled rhythmic event that is usually a restaurant, bar, or, Lugnuts on a summer basis.
Yep.
But 501 is a big bang, right? You do how many events a summer would you say you do?
Yeah, we typically do between 5 to 7 events every summer, kicking off sometime in May, traditionally, going through August. In fact, this year we're probably going to go through October.
Okay.
We've got our unique partnership with the City of Lansing and our friends at Downtown Lansing Inc. To do an event that we already kicked off the summer with in June, and we'll be beginning of June, and we're going to be doing again in, looks like, early October, which will be the latest we've done a summer event, if you will.
Yeah.
But we're really excited about the prospect of doing stuff a longer stretch of summer this year.
Okay. All right. Well, it dawned on me before we get into examples of some of the events. So you mentioned these partnerships with the City of Lansing and DLI. How are you organized? You mentioned nonprofit, but who runs you? How are you governed? Who helps you make the calls?
Yeah, we have a board of directors, some of whom have been around with this nonprofit longer than when we started Lansing 501. But we are very fortunate to have those folks kind of working with us or advising us. We meet a couple times a year. But then Lansing 501 is still mostly volunteer driven. Myself and Josh Holliday, partner of crime of mine, who a founding member, has been with Lansing 501 since the beginning, and he drives a lot of our large scale events and some of our marketing initiatives, and he's just extraordinary. And so him and I are we have full-time jobs elsewhere,
right?
But then we moonlight on nights and weekends in these part-time capacity roles with 501 to provide that day-to-day, week-to-week administrative coverage for the organization. And so we've got a few other interns or folks that have been with us that are also doing marketing initiatives or helping with events, programming. But it's still, we're a lean shop, if you will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but we talked about City of Lansing and Downtown Lansing Inc. You are considered, though, kind of a mid-Michigan or city of, or what is that affiliation like? Yeah,
so we have really strong partnerships with the City of Lansing that's been very generous in their financial support the last couple of years. And then we've been really fortunate to get some grant funding through the Michigan Arts, through the Arts Council of Greater Lansing, and at the state level, the national level, and at Ingham County. So we're very fortunate to have that grant funding, and in turn, we provide some events that are going to take place for sure in the City of Lansing, for example. But then since the day of our inception, we've predominantly and still are been supported by regional employers. So many of the larger companies in the area, if you name it, they've probably been involved with us or still are. And through their support, we're able to provide a value-added opportunity for their young employees, interns, co-ops. And that's really how we got our start.
Okay. So talk about the calendar. Now, we're recording this in kind of mid to late June of 2022, so we probably missed a couple of events, but share what's happened, share what's still to come.
You bet. So we did kick off the summer at the beginning of June with an event called Blockade that has now become an annual event. We launched that last summer in 2021. At the time, still in the heat of the pandemic, downtown Lansing had really just been hit hard. And so a lot of the brick and mortar businesses here needed our support. And so we staged a pop-up event. We closed down 3 blocks of downtown Lansing right on Washington Square and brought in all sorts of stages, performing artists, different events, and tons of vendors for a vendor market, and allowed us to welcome literally thousands of people to downtown Lansing that night. It went so well, the city and other partnering organizations asked us to consider bringing it back this year. So we did that. Beginning of June. It was great. Another 1,000+ folks came to downtown Lansing, and then we're going to do that again beginning of October. But in the interim, we've got a suite of other events that are coming up that are really exciting. We've got our Damn Jam Music Festival that we've done 4 or 5 years now. It's probably become our best known event because we do it annually, and the scale of it is pretty dramatic. We're going to be hosting it again at the Fish Ladder in Old Town Lansing, which is really exciting. Yeah. And incredibly unique venue for a pop-up concert. This year it's exciting. It's 3 nights, and the first night we're bringing in 3 performing artists from Nashville, Tennessee. Up and coming country music stars. And so that night is a ticketed event, which is new. Only $10, the best bargain you'll ever get for a concert of this size and magnitude. And it just allows us to make sure that we're covering costs because we're putting in a bigger stage than we've ever put before for this year's Damn Jam. And then Friday and Saturday night, we'll feature Michigan-based performing artists from across the state. Really exciting. And those nights are free, open to the public. Most of our summer events are they are incredible, but they're free and open to the public, whether you are employed by one of our sponsoring organizations or not. And then in August, we're doing an event that we've done a couple years now called Rosé All Day, which we've billed as Michigan's Rosé Wine Festival. It takes place at the beautiful Cooley Gardens in the city of Lansing, kind of right between downtown and Old Town. And it's an incredible setting for folks to walk around, do wine tasting. We'll have music, drag show. It's just a really, really well-liked event.
Not cars.
Yep, exactly. Right. Yeah, not cars. Yep. And then again, we're going to host Blockade in early October. And along the way, every month still, we're hosting a Grand River Connection event, typically on the 4th Tuesday of every month. So in July, for example, it'll be the 4th Tuesday at Horrocks, which is a iconic destination with a beer garden that is just beloved by many folks here in the region.
And if you haven't been to Horrocks in the last 18 months, what they've done out there with the outdoor patio and the beer garden and the
constantly
food trucks,
evolving.
That place is a moving target and gets better and better.
Indeed.
When is Damn Jam?
Damn Jam is going to be July 14th, 15th, and 16th. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
Does Lansing 501 have its own social media page to get all these dates and everything?
Absolutely. We always recommend folks to visit lansing501.com just because simply for many reasons, one of which is it's a great place to learn about our community. And I think a lot of folks that have lived here for a while are still amazed at what they'll learn by visiting our site.
Right. It is a lot more than just your programming. In fact, I remember talking about that. You completely revamped it to really be an advertisement for the city of Lansing and gives you a lot of statistics.
That's a great point. Yeah, we took a big time investment from one of our longtime sponsoring companies, MSU Federal Credit Union, and with those dollars, we completely revamped and redid our website. And so, if you go to it, it's really meant to be a tool for everyone in the region. So employers are looking to recruit talent or acquire talent. They should be using 501 in the onboarding process and in the recruiting process. Because if you're recruiting someone from Minnesota that's never set foot in Lansing, they probably don't know much about our region. Right. And this website will position Lansing as a cutting edge community that it's going to help them, convince them that they want to live and work here and take that job that you're offering them. And it's an incredible website. Over 400 or 500 different places or venues or activities are spotlighted across the website, as well as all of the different communities across the Tri-County region. And so going to that site is great for that. But then also you can email us there at contact@lansing501.com. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. And so we're always blasting out stuff to our tribe through email about upcoming events and programs, unique opportunities. So I always recommend folks do that there. And then, of course, you can find us on social media, most notably Facebook and Instagram, just Lansing 501.
Got it. And the 501, just to remind our audiences, how did that name come about?
Yeah, it's always a good question to clarify. So when we are thinking about, the mission of what we're trying to do, at the time there was the stigma that Lansing wasn't very vibrant or alive after 5 p.m. You go to work and you come home and you leave. And so we wanted to make a play on that mantra and help folks understand, kind of flip the script, and that Lansing is a great place, not just during the day, but at night and on the weekends as well. So that's why we start all of our events at 5:01 p.m. traditionally, and that's why our name is Lansing 501.
That's great. Now, we touched on the pandemic. How did you guys modify? I wouldn't want to use the word pivot, but I'll throw it out there anyway. So, But I mean, it's a networking, social, gathering event organization. And so you must have thrown your hands in the air when this all kind of came down and said, what are we going to do in the summer of 2020? How did 2020 and 2021 shape up?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I haven't really been able to talk about that a lot, I guess. It was hard, just like for everybody else. As you mentioned, we are in the business of gathering predominantly. And so all of a sudden in the spring of 2020, our event planning process for that summer came to a screeching halt. And I vividly remember we did an event that spring. We had kind of pressed pause on all the plans we had for in-person events, and we did a virtual fundraiser. We did like a 6-hour virtual concert on Facebook Live, and we raised thousands of dollars for brick and mortar nonprofit organizations and cultural destinations in the community. They've been hit, really hard.
Right.
And that was the one event, quote unquote, that we did for about 5 months. And then we were really thankful that we were able to do an event that following fall that was actually in person called Garden Jam. So it was a kind of a pivot of our Dam Jam event, but we held it at Cooley Gardens, and it was still, we had no servers. It was contactless payment. Everyone was sitting at tables, but I remember seeing their faces. Everyone was wearing masks, of course, but the chance to see performing art that night. No one had seen a concert for 6 months. It was amazing. We also created a new coloring book. It was a downloadable coloring book featuring some of the destination and iconic places in our community. The dairy store, or spots on MSU's campus, downtown Lansing, some of those incredible restaurants that we are, just really enjoy in our area. And so we worked with a local illustrator and artist, commissioned her to create a coloring book that you can still download from our website today. And we distributed that to thousands of young people and organizations across the area, received thousands of downloads. And it became a really cool tool that you could, print at the local school district. So young folks, it was a neat activity that when we were all quarantining in our houses and basements that summer and part of 2020, that folks could actually print and color and have a shared activity while being reminded of all the great places in our area. So this is just another example of something that we tried to do that summer of 2020. And then thankfully, by the time we got to 2021, we were able to have a better sense of how to deploy virtual programming. So we talked about GRC. For about a year, we were doing monthly virtual Grand River Connection events featuring different leaders, civic leaders, business leaders, restaurant owners in the community that allowed, another way for our tribe to kind of connect and still feel safe at the time. But I can tell you now, folks are really excited that we're doing in-person gatherings again.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Well, knock on wood, it always feels like we're on the other side of COVID, but you never know what's going to happen. And it seems like you evolved and survived and did some really good at giving back, right? Yes. So a lot of times you can say, well, I can't get what I need anymore, and so I'm upset. But for you guys to turn that around and raise money for nonprofits and do the coloring book activity and all that kind of stuff is a testament to the your moral compass pointing in the right direction. You and Josh, that's fantastic. Yeah,
our corporate funding was slashed by about 50% that year, understandably, right? Because every corporation and company was at a standstill about, the uncertainty.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening to us, so
that's right.
I'm going to hold on to that check.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the limited funds we had, we wanted to add some value-added things to really kind of uplift the community and support local the best we could.
Got it. Anything I missed? Any other news out there?
Oh, I think that's it. I mean, just stay tuned for what's coming next, and obviously visit our website. You'll see upcoming events listed there. Most of our events are free and open to the public. We highly encourage folks to register so that you get that information from us leading up to the event.
Got it. Lansing501.com. Okay. Fantastic. Well, we've been talking to the Executive Director of Lansing 501, Mr. Chris Sell. Appreciate you coming in and joining us again, telling the story.
You bet. Thank you, Chris.